I sighed heavily as I scrolled through my phone, deleting yet another passive-aggressive text from Brian. God, when did this become my life? I tossed the phone onto the couch and ran my fingers through my hair, frustration building in my chest. You're not seriously wearing that out, are you? Brian's voice cut through the quiet of our apartment. I looked down at my outfit, a simple black dress that hit just above my knees. Nothing scandalous, but apparently enough to set him off. What's wrong with it? I asked, though I already knew the answer. It's too short. You know how guys look at you when you wear stuff like that. I bit back a retort. This was the same song and dance we'd been doing for months now. Brian, it's just drinks with the girls from work. You've met them all before. Yeah, and I've seen how that Jake guy from accounting looks at you during office parties. I rolled my eyes. Jake's gay, Brian. We've been over this. Whatever, he muttered, his jaw clenching. Just don't stay out too late, okay? I nodded, not wanting to start another fight. As I grabbed my purse and headed for the door, I felt Brian's eyes on me, practically burning holes in my back. The bar was crowded when I arrived, the chatter and laughter a stark contrast to the tense silence I'd left behind. I spotted my coworkers at a table near the back and made my way over, plastering on a smile. Emma! Sarah called out, waving me over. We were starting to think you weren't coming. I slid into an empty seat, grateful for the warmth of their welcome. Sorry, got held up a bit. Let me guess, Melissa chimed in, her eyebrow raised knowingly. Brian? I nodded, feeling a familiar knot form in my stomach. He's just... You know how he gets. The table fell silent for a moment, my friends exchanging glances. It was Sarah who finally spoke up. Emma, honey, are you okay? Really okay? I opened my mouth to give my usual reassurance, but the words caught in my throat. Was I okay? The constant walking on eggshells, the arguments, the guilt trips. When was the last time I'd felt truly happy? I started, then stopped, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. I don't know anymore. Melissa reached across the table, squeezing my hand. You know we're here for you, right? Whatever you need. I nodded, a lump forming in my throat. For the first time in a long while, I let myself consider the possibility that maybe, just maybe, it was time to break free. I stepped into the crowded bar, the familiar buzz of conversation and clinking glasses washing over me. My coworkers were already there, waving me over to our usual spot. As I made my way through the crowd, I caught sight of my reflection in a mirror behind the bar. The outfit Brian had criticized earlier actually looked pretty damn good on me. Emma, you made it. Jen, my work bestie, pulled me into a hug. We were starting to think you'd bail on us again. I forced a smile, pushing thoughts of Brian's passive-aggressive texts out of my mind. Nah, not tonight. I needed this. We settled into our booth, drinks in hand, and the conversation flowed easily. For a while, I let myself relax, laughing at inside jokes and office gossip. It felt good to be out, to be myself without walking on eggshells. But as the night wore on, I couldn't shake the feeling of eyes on me. I glanced around, and there he was. Brian, leaning against the bar, his gaze fixed on me. My stomach dropped. I hadn't told him where I was going, but of course he'd found me. You okay, Em? Jen asked, noticing my sudden change in mood. I nodded, trying to play it cool. Yeah, just... Brian's here. My friends exchanged worried looks. They'd seen enough of our fights to know this probably wouldn't end well. Brian made his way over, sliding into the booth next to me. His arm went around my shoulders, a gesture that might have looked affectionate to others, but felt more like a claim of ownership. "Having fun?" he asked, his tone deceptively light. I could smell the whiskey on his breath. "We were just catching up," I said, attempting to keep things civil. As the night progressed, Brian's presence cast a shadow over what should have been a fun evening. Every laugh, every conversation with my coworkers seemed to set him on edge. His grip on my waist tightened each time I spoke to someone else, his eyes narrowing with suspicion. I tried to ignore it, to focus on my friends and the music, but it was like trying to ignore a ticking time bomb. The tension built with each passing minute. Then I saw him, Jake, an old friend from high school I hadn't seen in years. Without thinking, I waved him over, genuinely excited to catch up. "Emma? Holy shit, it's been forever." Jake's face lit up with a warm smile as he approached our table. I stood up to give him a hug, forgetting for a moment about Brian's watchful gaze. "Jake, what are you doing here? I thought you moved to the coast." We chatted animatedly, Jake telling me about his job and recent move back to the area. It felt so natural, so easy, a stark contrast to the constant eggshell walking I'd been doing with Brian. Suddenly, Brian's hand clamped down on my arm, yanking me back. "Who the fuck is this?" he snarled, his face contorted with anger. The bar seemed to go quiet, all eyes turning to our table. My cheeks burned with embarrassment and anger. "Brian, this is Jake. We went to high school together," I explained, trying to keep my voice steady. But Brian wasn't listening. His eyes were wild, darting between Jake and me. "Oh, I bet you did more than just go to school together," he spat. "Is this why you've been so distant lately? Fucking around with old flames?" Jake held up his hands, backing away. "Whoa, man. It's not like that at all. We're just old friends." "Bullshit!" Brian shouted, his voice echoing through the now silent bar. He turned to me, his face twisted with rage. "You trash. I knew you couldn't be trusted." The words hit me like a physical blow. I stood there, frozen, as the entire bar stared at us. My friends looked horrified. Jake was backing away, and Brian looked like a stranger, consumed by his own jealousy and insecurity. In that moment, something inside me snapped. All the pent-up frustration, the constant fear of setting him off, the endless compromises I'd made. It all came rushing to the surface. "That's it," I said, my voice low but firm. "We're done, Brian. This ends now." I grabbed my purse and stormed out of the bar, ignoring Brian's shouts behind me. The cool night air hit my face as I burst onto the street, tears stinging my eyes. I heard footsteps behind me and tensed, but it was Jen. She wrapped an arm around my shoulders. "You okay, hun?" I took a shaky breath. "No, but I will be." We stood there for a moment, the sounds of the city around us. Then Brian stumbled out of the bar, his face a mix of anger and desperation. "Emma, wait," he called out. "I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean it. Let's just go home and talk about this." I looked at him, really looked at him, and wondered how I'd let things get this far. How many times had I forgiven him, made excuses for his behavior? "Fine," I said finally. "Let's go home." As we got into a cab, I knew this wasn't over. But for the first time in a long time, I felt a glimmer of hope. Tonight had shown me what I'd been missing, what I deserved, and I was done settling for less. Sitting cross-legged on my bed, I stared at my phone, Brian's last message flashing in my mind. I could almost hear his condescending tone. I don't like that dress. It's too revealing. Ugh, screw him. My thumb hovered over my contacts, eyes narrowing in on a few names I hadn't dialed in a while. Blast from the past hookups. First name on the list, Mike. Tall Mike, with his deep laugh and mischievous grin. I hit call, tapping my foot impatiently. Straight to voicemail. Next, Alex. Sweet, reliable Alex, who loved mornings after more than the night before. No answer either. One by one, I went through the list. Each time, the same damn voicemail greeting. Disappointment set in, prickling my skin. I rubbed my temples, muttering under my breath. What was I doing? Had I really sunk this low? But I couldn't back down now. I needed something to shake off the lingering grip of Brian's control over me, and then it hit me. Why not take it up a notch? Fucking a stranger. I laughed, both at the absurdity and the liberating thought. It was bold, maybe a bit crazy, but goddamn if it didn't light a fire in me. I pulled up the pizza delivery app, hands ever so slightly trembling, and ordered the cheapest pizza on the menu. Special instructions. Do not ring the bell. Just call when you arrive. Heart pounding, I changed into my thinnest bra, silky and nearly see-through. My reflection caught my eye. I looked good, dangerously good. Time ticked by, the anticipation making everything electric, crackling. The call finally came. I answered on the first ring, feeling a smirk form on my lips. Yeah, come up. I'll be waiting by the door. Standing there, leaning against the frame, I locked eyes with Jason as soon as the elevator doors opened. His name tag gleamed in the dim light of the hallway. He froze, eyes widening in shock. Then slowly, they roamed over my body. There was hunger in his gaze, raw and unfiltered. I bit my lip. You got my pizza? Yeah. His voice wavered slightly. Did you forget to... Nope. I stepped forward, grabbing the waistband of his jeans, tugging him inside. Come on. The door clicked shut behind us, echoing in the silent apartment. His eyes darted around nervously before landing back on me. He was cute, in a boyish way, dark hair tousled, and those warm brown eyes staring at me like I was some sort of enchantress. You sure about this? His voice was low now, the initial shock fading, replaced by curiosity and something more primal. More than sure. My hand slid over his chest, feeling the rapid beat of his heart beneath the fabric. I needed a little distraction. His breath hitched, and I tugged at his shirt, pulling it over his head in one quick motion. He hesitated for a second, then his hands were on me, tracing patterns up my sides, sending shivers down my spine. The intensity between us ratcheted up quickly, his lips crashing into mine like he'd been holding back his whole life. Jason's shirt hit the floor, and I noted the contrast between his olive skin and the worn denim of my couch. I could barely keep my hands from exploring every inch of his lean, hard muscles. This raw, spontaneous encounter was like nothing I'd ever experienced. No second-guessing, no over-analyzing, just pure, unfiltered desire driving every movement, every touch. Breathless, I dragged him to the couch. I craved this as a form of reckless liberation, a clear message to Brian and to myself that I owned my life. Without hesitation, I took Jason's equipment. The taste of his fun mingled with my rebellion made everything sharper. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Brian's dog. The scrappy mutt stood at the top of the stairs, his head cocked to one side, confused, but too curious to back away. For a split second, I froze. But the absurdity of it, that Brian's dog was the unexpected witness to my cheating, just made me want to push every boundary further. No nosy pet or anything else would ruin this moment of liberation for me. The sensation was thrilling, and it deepened as I began to dance with Jason, start slow and gentle before giving in to my need to control. We danced together with a rhythm that left us both breathless. This was my moment, my act of rebellion against everything Brian would try to shape me into. Then that barking broke through our rhythm. Brian's dog seemed set off by the sounds and movement, throwing us off our balance. Right on cue, I heard the familiar sound of Brian's footsteps, heavy and fast as they pounded down the stairs. We didn't stop dancing. It was impossible to halt this momentum, even if I'd wanted to. Brian stormed into the living room, his eyes wide with shock and fury. There I was dancing with Jason, still moving. A moment of silence reigned, thick with tension, our heavy breathing filling the space as the mutt barked frenetically. Brian's face contorted, the anger twisting into betrayal and pain, tears beginning to blur the sharp lines of his expression. He finally found his voice. "Get out of my house." He choked on the words, and the raw anguish threatened to make me stop. But I couldn't. I wouldn't. I held his gaze, daring him to do something, to implore me with the reasons I should have cared. With a strangled cry, he whirled and bolted back upstairs, his sobs bouncing off the empty hallway walls. The dog followed closely, still barking in confusion. Jason looked up at me, his chest heaving, his eyes a mixture of excitement and a tinge of unease. "Was that?" "Just shut up and dance with me," I interrupted, effectively silencing any hint of doubt. Brian's departure only emboldened me further. This wasn't just dance. It was a reclaiming of who I was, who I wanted to be without the weight of Brian's toxicity. No more overthinking. No ghosts of the past floating around this room. Just me, Jason, and our dancing time. I lay there on the couch with Jason, our breathing heavy and uneven, the room still pulsing with the aftermath of our heated encounter. A million thoughts crashed into my mind, but one stood out like a beacon. I had done it. I had finally broken free from Brian with a move that was reckless, yet impossibly freeing. I felt a strange cocktail of emotions swirling within me. Liberation mingled with satisfaction, but also a sharp pang of sadness for the relationship I had just annihilated. Breathing in deeply, I let the emotions wash over me, not fighting any of them. Brian had shown his true colors too many times, and despite the chaos, this was my way out. No regrets, just reality staring me in the face. Jason stirred beside me, the dazed look in his eyes mirroring my own inner turmoil. "You okay?" His voice broke through the silence, tentative but concerned. "Yeah," I nodded, more resolute than I'd felt in ages. "Just processing." He seemed to understand, or at least he didn't press further. I let myself lay there a few minutes longer, savoring the first taste of freedom. Then I knew what I had to do. Carefully, I pushed off the couch, my legs still a bit wobbly, but determined. I need to shower," I murmured, heading towards the bathroom without waiting for a response. Hot water cascaded over me, washing away sweat and remnants of emotion. As I scrubbed, I felt layers of the old Emma peeling away, leaving room for someone stronger, someone who valued her worth. The shower soothed and invigorated, whispered promises of new beginnings. After drying off, I threw on some comfortable clothes, grabbed my essentials, phone, wallet, keys. Eyes falling on the small pizza box, I snatched it up too, Glancing around, I realized how little attachment I felt to this place now. It had been a cage, despite its comforts. Head held high, I walked out without looking back, leaving Jason and the ghosts of my old life behind. Stepping onto the street, I felt a strange lightness, as if invisible bonds had been severed. The chilly air greeted me, invigorating and welcome. Every step felt like a victory. Each inhale, a breath of autonomy. Brian was a chapter that needed closing, and though it ended in the messiest way possible, I was ready to write the next one. My terms, my rules. As I walked away, I knew I wasn't just escaping Brian. I was finally stepping into my own story, unfiltered and unchained. For even more uncensored adult stories, follow us on Twitter at @SoyaTsX. Link in video description. You won't want to miss what's next, what's next, what's next.